Myth is... It's a board game. Yeah. Oh, God. Oh, God, Myth. Just take a breath. All right, I can do this. I can control my feelings for Myth. God, this game sucks.
Can't whisper it. Ooh, 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 toy rage.
All right, so Myth is another game that started on Kickstarter. Myth was made by Mercs Miniatures and launched March 25th, 2013. Its starting goal was $40,000, which was funded, I believe, within a week, and ended up over $900,000. The game got a lot of positive hype and attention from the style of the game, the mechanics, and the minis. The Kickstarter campaign made the game look great. Unfortunately, I couldn't go back and look at the videos originally on the Kickstarter page, because they were not there anymore, with the exception of the campaign video. Now, after reading the campaign and the prices of the rewards, with the stretch goals and the add-ons, if I had known about Myth, I may have backed it. However, the result was a very, very different tale to tell. Original rules with the game had many saying it was literally unplayable. Huge issues with things were worded, and people not knowing what terms meant. I never played the original, but there's many places you can read online about people's issues with the original rules for Myth. So much so that they had to release a Myth 2.0 rules book, which was better, but better is a relative term. So here's a visual aid and a metaphor to help get across my personal feelings of the new rules. So here's a picture of something. It's a mess. Looks like it's possibly garbage. At least some of it is, but you can't make out everything. So here's another picture. And oh look, it was garbage. And it's much neater now and presented in a way that I know what it is. However, it's still garbage. And this is how I feel about the Myth rules. The 2.0 rules may be easier to understand, but it's still garbage. So is Myth a bad game? No. I personally do not think so at all. The mechanics of the more that you do in the game with your actions, the more that the darkness pushed back is a great idea. It causes more for critical thinking, teamwork during the rounds, and everyone can't just go out and kill all the bad guys without being punished or spawning even more. So do I think Myth is a great game? No. Definitely not. If anything, Myth has the potential to be a fun game to play, but the effort and setup that must go into it isn't proportional to the fun factor it provides. But if you know how to play it right, it could give you a night of decent fun. And that's a big if. So one thing that the game did great is the miniatures design. They are well detailed and solid. And you may see a mini or two in these pictures missing an arm or a base. That's because the glue job was bad, which is different from mini design and detail. The scale of the bosses is great and makes you really feel like this is going to be a tough fight. Sometimes in games you are facing a smaller, regular looking enemy, and it turns out to be way harder than you thought. This game succeeds at making threats feel accurate. Another part of this game is each hero having their own deck, which I like and don't like different parts of it. I like how each hero has a deck custom to allowing them to a lot of different abilities and things that they can do. It really helps prevent the game from feeling stale and adds strategy and planning to your turn with your team. The downside is, it adds randomness that you sometimes wish you did not have to deal with, especially with the forced discard you must do at the end of the turn. If you have some great combo but you can't do anything with it because it would be too risky, you can most likely lose it all at the end of the turn. Yes, it adds to the strategy, but sometimes it adds more frustration than strategy. The game can use multiple tiles, but you can just stick to having one at a time. This makes it so you have less space to use for the game board, which allows more space for game components, the darkness, hero boards, and your food. The game itself is really hard to figure out, and they know it. On the first page they have the golden rule and reading this book areas. You'd think the golden rule would be cards have priority over written rules or something like that. Example being, if the game says you cannot cast a fire spell at a rock, and a card says you may cast this fire spell at a rock, then the card supersedes the book rules. But no, the golden rule essentially is, this game can have difficult to understand rules and teamwork is needed. If you don't understand a rule or how it should be played, talk it over with your friends and do what you all agree on how it should be played. That's probably right, so don't get hung up on a single rule. So, if you don't understand a rule, just do what makes sense to you and your friends, because more problems are going to come up and you're going to need to deal with this again. The reading this book section says that the rulebook was organized in a way that allows players to set up and start playing the game quickly. With all these decks of cards and tokens, the only way I can see quickly being used is quickly giving up on this game. The rulebook is an absolute mess. It feels like it addresses a lot of the problems that people were having with the first edition of the rules, but also leaves out a lot of crucial parts of the first rulebook, such as a glossary of key terms and a turn order chart. So many times in a brand new game that you're playing, you don't exactly remember what the turn order is, and having a quick reference to the chart, which would be fantastic to have on the back page of a quick reference guide, isn't there anywhere in the 2.0 rules. Also, if you have a question about what does this term mean, what is it supposed to do, there's no glossary of key terms. Throughout the rulebook, there are a couple places where you can look at terms, but it's just, there's no glossary. These are two crucial facts, or two crucial parts of a rulebook that should be included with every single game. It is beyond imagination how these people just decided to leave these important parts out of the rulebook. The reading this book section also says that there's more advanced rules towards the end of the book, and there is a, quote, rules reference at the back of the book with important rules summarized in an easy to read format. This makes it easy for players to reference quickly while playing. Now, I would expect an FAQ or something, but instead you get this. There's no turn order, there's no key terms. What about if you have darkness issues? Or that glossary we talked about? Nothing. Instead, it's this. So yes, the icons are important, but why do I need to reference end of game or setup rules quickly? If I'm surrounded by 4 enemies, I want to know if I can attack twice or turn order, or what certain key terms on my cards actually mean. Not how many icons are on certain size tiles. It's stupid. Anyway, setting the game up is just as frustrating. Your first step is to prepare the darkness. Part A of it says to shuffle the Terror with 1,000 Legs Darkness deck and place... What? Like, is the Darkness cards... Is that the Darkness cards? The Darkness deck? Or is the Terror with 1,000 Legs something special? Whatever. It's the Darkness cards. Part B, place the monster cards with the corresponding miniatures near the board. What monsters? There are orcs and bugs, or both? What about bosses? And gather all treasure counters and the trap deck with its tokens? Already it's confusing, and it's step 1 of the easy rules setup. Step 1 is basically telling you to set up everything and organize everything in the game that has to do with darkness, when really you don't need half of it at first. From what we understood about how to set up the game, the monsters you go against are either dictated by the quest, or you choose what type you go against. And if you go against a trap or quest, depends on the tile you choose, unless it's a story quest that dictates what tile you use. But you choose the tile first, and then it tells you to take a quest or a trap, but the quest can tell you the tile to use, but you don't draw the quest until you choose the tile. And oh my god, do you see how confusing this game is? Anyway, not only that, but the size of the tiles you choose have different setup options. This is not an easy setup, nor is that a quick reference at all. Anyway. The game didn't even start, and we are ready to give up on it. We decided to push through and just choose heroes. I chose the archer, another friend chose the spriggan, and the last player chose the brigand. We get our mini and our class cards, but oh wait, another problem. Spriggan doesn't have any cards. The game comes with 155 hero cards and 8 hero tokens. Each hero has a 31 card deck, so after doing some math, 3 heroes have no cards and are unplayable. I definitely did not want this video on this game to go so long. So let's just go and just be pretty concise about a couple of the problems that I have with the game. There's not enough explanation on the archer and how ammo is used, which, by the way, it looks like you cannot attack with the archer on first turn no matter what. Going into the shadows with the brigand is confusing at times, and you can't play all heroes you get in the game, and this is before the game even starts. I had 2 hours of recording time, and I barely made it into the game we fully played. Not to mention, there are so many tokens, and it's such a hassle to deal with them all. Just cleaning up and sorting is horrific. The box it comes in is horrible, and unless you have your own bags or something to store pieces in, it's going to be a huge mess. Games like Welcome to the Dungeon have the same exact box design, but it has less pieces and the pieces fit really well, as opposed to Myth, where it's, well, easy cleanup, just dump it all in a box and we'll just sort it out next time we play. It is extremely disappointing to have a game with potential like this turn out to be so unclear, even after a rules rewrite. In the Kickstarter campaign, it is said the game began on a 4-hour plane ride when 2 of the developers were talking about games and things they didn't like and wanted to change. Ironically, this is now a game many who played will talk about and use as a reference for things needing change and how not to handle several aspects of game design. So how did we feel about Myth? After the night was over, the friend who owned the game said this was the first game he was comfortable throwing out because he had such a miserable experience with it. I convinced him not to because I had to do a review and take pictures of it, plus the minis were at least really cool. With all that being said, thank you for watching all the way to the end of the video if you did. So what do you guys think about Myth? Have you played Myth? Like the video, subscribe, and share any stories in the comments you have below. If you have any other recommendations for games that we can play, just write them in the comments below, and we'll see you guys next time.